Friends, and welcome back to Swiftlessons for another music theory guitar tutorial. In today's session, we're going to be talking about the three different types of diminished chords and how they can be performed in this 3rd fret position, key of C. I'm going to be talking to you about how they're built from the major scale, so we're going to understand the theory behind the chords and their usages. I got a full PDF study guide for you at patreon.com/swiftlessons. Support the channel there and gain access to a ton of extra resources for all my popular YouTube guitar lessons. Now, let's get started. Okay, close look at the fretboard. Getting started with section 1 of this lesson. Building the very most basic diminished harmony off of the 1st, flat at 3rd, and flat 5th intervals here in the key of C. Okay, first a quick review. Chords are built from the notes in and around the major scale. So in the key of C, that's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, and then of course there would be another octave. Now, major chords are created when we combine or harmonize the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of that scale. So C, E, and G are the only notes that you're going to find inside a basic chord like C major. Okay? Now in this chord we have some very specific intervals. The A string's got the root or the 1, the 1st note of the scale. The D string's got the 5th. The G string has got the 1 again, so it's an octave of the 1st note that we played. And then the B string is playing the 3rd note of the scale up 1 octave. Okay, then again on the high E string, 3rd fret, we have another 5 or 5th interval of the scale. Okay, which if you remember was G. So inside this basic C major chord, we've got 1, 5, 1, 3, and 5. Okay, great. Now, using the C major chord, we're going to be able to create the basic diminished harmony. All we need to do is find all the 3s, flat them back a half step or 1 fret, find all the 5s, and do the exact same thing, flat those back a half step. Okay, so taking a look at this chord, we're going to find the 1st, 5th interval that we have in the chord shape. There it is on the 5th fret of the D string, flat that back a half step. Okay, now if we put that into the chord, we can already hear that it's starting to sound more diminished. It's starting to sound a little bit more stressful. Okay, now we need to flat the 3rd too, but my hand just won't let me do it, so I need to rearrange my fingers. The ring finger is going to go to the 4th fret of the B string, so that way that major 3rd is flatted back to a minor 3rd. Then my pinky is going to go and replace it, the G string 5th fret. Now I've got the basic diminished harmony. I'm not going to use my high E string because I would need to flat that back as well, and it's just not possible considering the number of fingers that I have. So here it is on the A string, D string, G string, and B string. Your basic diminished harmony. We've got the 3rd fret of the A string. We've got the 4th fret of the D string. We've got the 5th fret of the G string. And the 4th fret of the B string. A basic C diminished chord. Now, this shape is not especially useful. It's not especially common in different chord progressions. So, the goal for this lesson is to really get down the half-diminished and full diminished versions, which I'm going to show you next. Okay, very well done everybody. You've got that basic diminished harmony down. Now we're ready to jump into section 2, learning the half-diminished version. We're adding another note to the harmony, so it's going to be a 1, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7 harmony. Okay, so let's get started by finding the note that we're going to be adding into this harmony, that flat 7. To find it, all I need to do is play 7 notes up the major scale, key of C. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to take that B note and flat it back 1 half step to the flat 7. There it is, a B flat note. Now, we need to add that into the harmony. So, we've got the 1, the bass note of this C diminished chord. Next, we need that flat 5. Right there on the 4th fret of the D string. Alright, now add in that flat 7. That's the 3rd fret of the G string. And then lastly, we need to add in the flat 3rd. That's going to be the 4th fret of the B string, to give us the C half-diminished chord, also known as C minor 7 flat 5. Okay, it's just a different name for the same exact chord, minor 7 flat 5. So this is a very useful shape because it's the 7th shape that you would have in a given major key. So what that means is if you look at the key of C, find the 7th interval, that note right there can be converted into this chord shape. Just take that note, find its lower octave, and then set up that shape. Alright, now that is a B minor 7 flat 5, also known as B half diminished. Okay, and it's a great chord to get you to the 1 chord C major. Okay, so if you have a major key, just know that that 7th interval, when converted to chordal form, is going to be that half diminished, also known as minor 7 flat 5. Okay, excellent work everybody. So far you've got the basic diminished chord shape, that harmony of 1 flat 3 flat 5. You added in the flat 7 to create the half-diminished chord shape, also known as minor 7 flat 5. Now you're ready to move into section 3, learning how to play the full diminished chord, also called a full diminished 7th chord, with a harmony of 1, flat 3, flat 5, and double flat 7, also known as the 6th interval. It gets a little dicey there. I'm going to show you how to play this very useful chord and then reveal some of the theory behind it. Okay, so breaking down this final variety of your diminished chord shape, the full diminished chord. So, like the others, it's going to be rooted on the 3rd fret of the A string. That's the root note or the bass note, C. It's also going to include that flat 5. And also that flat 3, which we're finding on the 4th fret of the B string. But unlike the half-diminished version, which included that flat 7, this version is going to have a double flat 7, okay, which is kind of sounds a little bit weird, but in music theory, when you're talking about diminished chords, it has to have a reference point. So, what are you diminishing? The 7th note twice. Brings it down a whole step to what is technically the 6th interval, and that reveals the harmony or the formula for this chord. The bass note, the root, C. The flat 5, which is F sharp. Okay. The 6th, also known as the double flat 7, which is A. And then the minor 3rd, which is E flat. Alright, so there it is, the full diminished chord shape. 3rd fret of the A string, 4th fret of the D string, 2nd fret of the G string, and the 4th fret of the B string. Okay, excellent work today, everybody. You've got the half-diminished and full diminished chord shapes down. Great news, those are movable shapes. So now you can play them in every single key, up and down the fretboard. Okay, now I want to give you a couple of different examples of chord progressions that you can practice that actually use these chord shapes. Okay, so chord progression number 1 is going to be taken out of a very famous bossa nova song called Black Orpheus. It's going to include the chords A minor, a variation of our C chord, C6, just adding the pinky to the 3rd fret of the A string of your A minor chord. Next, we're going to play the chord B half diminished, also known as B minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so there it is. That very familiar shape now, but rooted off of the 2nd fret, B. Following that, you can set up the chord E7 and give this kind of a bossa feel. Okay, so the A minor chord, hit the bass note, grab the G string and the B string. Of course, I'm using hybrid pick and fingers. Same thing for this C6 chord, the B half diminished. And then when you get to the E7 chord, just grab the low root note, low E, and then grab the G string and the B string twice for a great chord progression to practice that includes that half diminished chord shape. taking a look at chord progression number 2. This is the last thing that we're going to learn for today, and that's how to use the full diminished chord shape in the context of blues. This is directly out of my new lesson on how to play a jazz blues 12 bar. So I'm just going to give you a piece of it. The full diminished chord shape, I'm going to show it to you here. All right, we're going to take it from the key of C that we learned it in earlier, and we're going to put it in the key of E flat. By simply just moving its fret position, now the root note is here off of the 6th fret of the A string. So this is a very useful chord shape for tying together the 4 chord to the 1 chord in the key of A. So if I'm playing a blues progression in the key of A, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. Then the 4 chord will come for 8 beats, but we can cut it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So you see how when we have 8 beats of the 4 chord D, we can kind of raise the pitches up a half step, and it kind of ushers in, and it creates a little bit of suspense that tells the listener, okay, we're going back to the 1 chord. Okay, so here's your progression to practice. Just grabbing a D9 chord. 2, 3, 4, going up a half step with the root note, and playing the full diminished shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, before going back to the 1 chord A7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that's a great usage for the full diminished chord. It's a passing chord between the 4 chord and the 1 chord. Now, if you want to learn how to play a full jazz blues progression, that might be the next thing that you want to learn. So click that card right up there in the top corner. Alright friends, thanks so much for checking out this music theory guitar tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. As always, big thanks to my supporters at patreon.com/Swiftlessons. I hope you're enjoying all those extra resources. And thanks to you guys, I got many more lessons coming up. So keep checking in, please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.